The focus in Japan very much remains on the rescue and recovery task and the unfolding nuclear disaster, but already there are disturbing signs about the potential long-term impact on the Japanese economy. Japan's share market plummeted more than 10% today, on top of yesterday's fall of 6%. Greg Hoy examines the economic fallout for Japan and the rest of the world, including Australia.
Its credit ratings falling, its interest rates near zero. The world's third largest economy was already struggling to emerge from an economic malaise before the latest quake struck. With a heavy government debt burden after almost 2 decades of debilitating deflation, combined with the lingering ill effects of the global financial crisis, meant the land of the rising sun was ill prepared financially for a disaster of such magnitude.
We've seen these enormous problems in the nuclear reactor space. That is a very large chunk of the total energy supply to the Japanese economy.
The current crisis is certainly going to put significant strain on Japan's economy more broadly. Certainly in terms of Japan's debt levels, which is really the major Achilles heel of the economy.
The challenges are immense, and when you start to put it together with how poor the fiscal position is in Japan and the lack of flexibility is there, really the challenges are profound.
Radiation has spread from these reactors, and the reading of the level seems very high.
As the Nikkei share index plunged today and the government extended scheduled power blackouts, large manufacturers from Toyota to Sony, Japan's largest exporter of consumer electronics, extended their shutdown of factories across the country. The human tragedy and economic impact of the latest quake, reminiscent of the 1995 earthquake that devastated the heavily industrial region of Kobe, claiming 6,434 lives.
When the Kobe quake hit, it was directly under an urban area, and so there was an immediate destruction of private capital. But this time around, the shock to energy generation, which is really the lifeblood of a developed economy, and the additional complication of nuclear, with all of what that entails, I would say this is more damaging for the economy.
Right now, power is being drained from other parts of the electric network in Japan to try and provide enough electric power to cool down the atomic power stations that have been shut down. And the result of that is that electric power for industrial purposes right now is in short supply.
I think you'd have to be pretty pessimistic.
Professor Andrew O'Neill of Griffith University's Asia Institute formerly served on the Foreign Minister's Committee on International Security Issues.
There may well be a tendency for the Japanese people, the Japanese government, to turn inward, to focus on domestic challenges, which is of course totally understandable in the circumstances. If Japan does focus inward, perhaps becomes more detached from regional diplomatic, political and security issues, this is not good news for Australia.
And Japan remains Australia's second largest trading partner. Last year, its Australian imports had an estimated value of some $37 billion. So how might trade be affected by the recent tragic events in Japan?
Obviously there will be a short, sharp shock, and we can see that the performance of the Australian stock market since the shock has told us that uranium is going to come under significant pressure. Uranium producers in Australia fell very sharply yesterday, but we also saw gas producers in Australia actually do better than the overall market yesterday.
If we look at what's happened within the structure of the Japanese economy, the fact that much of the atomic power stations proportion of electricity generation has been disabled means that there is a higher demand for liquefied natural gas.
It's also expected once Japan has dealt with more pressing problems. The reconstruction effort will require greater imports of Australian iron ore and coal for steelmaking. But as this is the world's third largest economy, how heavily might Japan's troubles weigh on an already sluggish global economy?
Japan is not actually an engine of global growth. It is a very large economy that actually levers off growth in other zones. It would be much more damaging for global growth when a large economy which has a current account deficit, i.e. it's taking more than it's giving back, like the United States, that really actually puts the cat amongst the pigeons.
Recovery from a disaster, either man-made, like war, or made by nature, always seems to generate a strong surge in growth. And I think it will again now.
Greg Hoy reporting there.